Hello, Healing Spot community. This is Justine Calderwood with the Healing Spot Physical Therapy, and I am a physical therapist. Today we are talking about how to keep your neck happy. So I want to share some of the tips that I give my patients and just to give you a little information that might help you at home as well. So I'm going to try to keep this shorter than my normal weekly videos, okay? So first I'm going to have you guys start with a little bit of breathing, okay? So as we go on here, I'm going to explain a little bit more on why we're doing what we're doing. But let me just start by saying, you know, I'm talking about like neck pain through the back here. It may be extending up into the head and causing some headaches. So keep that in mind, okay? So one thing I'm going to have you start with is just checking out how you're breathing. So to do that, you can lie down on your back. Okay, so we want to be breathing in with the diaphragm and not with the upper body, okay, and using the accessory muscles to breathe. So a simple thing that you can do is put one hand here at your chest and one hand down here at your belly, okay? And we don't want to just puff up the belly and do what we call belly breathing. We really want to be expanding out through that rib cage and kind of breathing into the back of the body, okay? So this is a simple thing, but just see if you can get your body to draw that breath down and in. So both hands should be moving equally, okay? So as you draw your breath in, you can even visualize it, you can feel it, and it should be easy to bring this breath on down unless you have some restrictions into the thoracic into the chest, the thoracic cage, and into the rib cage and the thoracic spine, okay? So I'm going to have you work on that. So again, just some diaphragmatic breathing, okay? Some other good ways that you can make your neck feel a little happier is doing some stretches, okay? So a lot of people will focus on stretching the back of the neck, thinking that because that's where the pain is, that's where they need to focus their attention. So a lot of people will be stretching forward, and I'm not saying that that won't necessarily help you, because lengthening out through the spine may be very beneficial for you. But what I want to encourage you to do is also pay attention to the front of your neck, okay? A lot of people, because of occupations or because of how they hold themselves, their posture, surgeries, if you've had any kind of hip surgeries, lower abdomen, like hernia surgeries, or even into the breast tissue or into, front of the neck, shoulders, any of that, that can start to pull you forward and start to create a lot of tension and restriction in the soft tissue. And restrictions in the fascia, that soft connective tissue, can put up to 2,000 pounds of pull and torsion and restriction in your body, okay? So keep that in mind. So if you're only focusing on the back where the pain is, you may very well miss what your body really needs, okay? So I would focus some on the front of your neck, especially if you look in the mirror, or if you know this, that do you feel like you're being pulled forward? Are your shoulders rounded? Is your head being pulled forward? Look in the mirror and see, are your shoulders level, okay? Those are all clues that there may be some restrictions going on. Check out your hips. Are they level? Okay, so look beyond just the neck. We covered this last week when I was talking about the low back. If you only look at the area of pain, you're kind of looking at your body like this, okay? And so if you only treat where the pain is at, you may completely miss those other areas where the pain is stemming from, those strain patterns in your body, okay? So some good neck stretches to get into the front side is just simply put your hand underneath your thigh just to keep the shoulder down. So I'm going to stretch out the right side, and what you can do is elongate out through the top of your head. You can tilt to the opposite side, and then from there you can adjust. So I would either bring my chin down towards my opposite shoulder, like into my armpit, or I might even rotate up and look there, and that's going to change where I'm feeling the stretch, okay? So I always advocate doing myofascial stretches. So traditional stretching, you might hold 30 to 60 seconds. With a myofascial stretch, because we're trying to stretch that fascial tissue, that soft connective tissue, we want to hold for 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, so while you're doing that, you want to be very, very mindful, and you want to really let your body soften into the stretch and continue to take up the slack. So as your body gives a little bit, continue to stay right at that barrier, right at that stretch. You're not ever forcing it. You don't want it to be painful. You just want a nice, gentle, mild stretching, okay? That leads me to the next thing. Actually, I'm sorry. So we want to stretch into the neck, so you can get into the side of the neck and into the shoulders, and I would even say into the chest here. Okay, this is what I see a lot of people are forward, and they're tight in the pec muscles and into the chest, and maybe even down. And so what I would do, a really good way to do some self-treatment is using a small ball, okay? So you can do this on a bed, you can also do it on the floor. Depends on how bothersome your neck pain is, okay, and how flexible your body is, okay? So starting on the bed is always a good option because it's gonna be nice and soft. And then what you can do is just put this between your shoulder blades. If it hurts to be right on the spine, just go to the side of your spine so you're in the muscle, okay? But I would put this about bra line if you're a woman, otherwise about nipple line if you're a male, or you can go higher or lower than that. There's no, set thing that has to be done exactly right. So you're gonna lie down on top of this. You can keep your knees bent if that's comfortable. If you can put your legs out straight, you can feel a little bit more stretch into the front of the hips. And then from there, bring your arms out to like a T, okay? So the ball is just simply lifting your chest up. And from there, if you don't have a pillow underneath your head, it's a really good way to stretch the front of your neck, okay? Now you can actually use different surfaces. So if the ball doesn't lift you up enough and you're not feeling much of a stretch, you can do a couple different things. You can bring your arms up a little bit higher here. That's going to get a little bit different fibers of the pec muscles, okay? So up into like a Y position with your hands. The other thing that you might try doing is using something like a rolled up towel or even a yoga mat. So if you put this down along the length of your spine, this might lift you up a little bit more, okay, and give you a little bit more of a stretch, okay? There's variations of the stretch, but those are some really good starting points, okay? One thing I wanted to say too, if you have a lot of tightness in the front of your shoulders and in through your hips even, and that's pulling you forward, what happens is, we know we're not supposed to walk around like this. Our body has this natural mechanism of kind of correcting. We know it's going to stimulate your body to do something else so that you can see forward, right? So what's going to happen is your head's going to have to extend, and in through the upper cervical, like right at that fleshy part where your head and your spine meet, it's going to start extending into that suboccipital space, and that can cause a lot of tension. That's a really big source of pain and tension for a lot of my patients. And there's ways that I release that, but I want you to be aware of that, because what happens then is you can be constantly extending through that upper cervical, and that can create a lot of pain and dysfunction for you, okay? So that's why we want to address this in addition to possibly coming up into that suboccipital space. So how do you get into that space by yourself? Okay, when I'm working with patients, I will actually use my finger pads. I'll do some very gentle distraction or traction through the top of the head, so I'm lengthening out those joints and allowing a little bit more decompression through the neck and the head. But for you, there are some self-treatment tools you can try. Okay, so ones that I recommend, this craniocradle. You can find this on Amazon or even craniocradle.com. It's a nice treatment tool. It's not super dense. It's got some flexibility to it. So there's ways that you can use this along the back of your neck, and you'd be lying down. I'm not going to go over that because I don't want to make this video too long. But there's different ways that you can use this, even including sitting it up and allowing your head to rotate a little bit and get into the side of your neck, okay? So the craniocradle is a really good treatment tool that I like to use. The davinci tool, this is a good one to get into, like this part here. It's got 3 different surfaces. I don't know if you can see that. This one's a little rounded, this one has kind of ridges, and this one has a little bit more of a point. So those can be used at the base of the neck, and also into the shoulder blades in that. So that's called the davinci tool. There's a red one, which is softer, and a blue one, which is a little firmer. And you can find those on the internet. I want to say Amazon. I think that's where I found them. And then in a pinch, this is what I do with patients who may be on a budget or want to try something first. I just use a couple different tennis balls. So these are just 2 tube socks. I have 1 ball inside. I've knotted this up just to keep it in place. Put the other tennis ball inside. Now I can have this self-treatment tool, and this is going to give me a little bit more firm surface than the craniocradle, or the small inflatable ball, okay? And so you can adjust this, you can bring it out a little bit further if you need to, and this can be used again at the base of the neck, into those muscles in the neck, and you can even come on down. This is a good way to lift up through the chest and get a little bit of extension through the thoracic spine and release the shoulders along the, or the muscles along the shoulder blade, and all of that good stuff. So whenever you do some self-treatment, again, because we're trying to target the fascial system, or that soft connective tissue, it starts to respond within about 2 minutes of any kind of pressure or compression into it or pull. So holding for that 3 to 5 minutes or longer if your body's responding positively to it, okay? So those are some really good treatment tools. This ball can be used a lot of different places as well, including into the pec muscles, lying down on your stomach, okay? Let's see, posture, that's a big thing. You know, really bringing your shoulder blades down and back, lifting up through the crown of your head, being very mindful of how much you are sitting, and what kind of toll that's taking on your body. The fascia is going to actually respond to however your body is positioned. And so if you are always sitting, if you are always kind of leaning to one side, if you put your, you wear your purse on one shoulder, your body reacts to that. The fascia gets tightened down in order to support and protect your body, okay? So wearing bifocals, I want to say that really quickly because I've had people, when they get those bifocals and they're doing this, like that, and they're actually using them, that can cause some suboccipital tightness as well. So keep that in mind. Strengthening muscles from the backside to help you with that better posture. But I do want to just say real quickly that getting better alignment and better posture is number one. That should come first before you do any kind of strengthening, okay? And I just want to quickly mention the pelvic floor and the involvement of that. I already kind of mentioned the hips, if there's any kind of tightness there. I've done a video in the past about I think it was related to headaches or head pain in relation to pelvic floor dysfunction, and so go check that out on YouTube as well. I do have a free neck pain guide on my website at healingspotpt.com if you want to check that out. I'm going to be sharing some videos later this week on some more tips inside the Healing Spot community page. That's a private Facebook page through this page, so you can check that out. I'm going to actually be talking a little bit more about some myofascial unwinding. So as you're stretching, I'm going to end you with this. As you're stretching, if you start to feel your body as it's softening, if it feels like your body wants to kind of soften into a certain direction, be curious and allow that to happen. Soften into it. Give your body permission to lead the way, and see if you can try out a little bit of myofascial unwinding. That's just a self-correcting way that your body can release some of these restrictions and can unravel and lead to some pain relief. So I'm going to be sharing some videos later this week on that, okay? If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'm happy to answer anything that you have questions on. So enjoy your day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.